All right, everyone, welcome back to episode 4 of Survive Your Mind with Hannah Nihill, Drexel women's basketball player. A whole list of accolades I'll read to you guys right now. In high school, she was all Catholic for 3 years. She was the Delco Player of the Year in 2016 and 2017. Most Courageous Award winner for the American Athletic Union. In college, she was the Boo Williams Tournament MVP, CAA Rookie of the Year her freshman year, Defensive Award winner 2 years at Drexel, and a Cole Hester Award recipient at the Blue and Gold Banquet, which is our end of the year banquet at Drexel. Hannah, excited to have you on. I know you're a very big leader on the team. The girls definitely look for you. And you've also become kind of like an inspiration to a lot of people outside of the sport. We'll get into her family life and things like that. Hannah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. This is so fun.
Yeah, it's going to be good. So start with, I know you and I both got to experience Madeline and what she does at Drexel. Speak to mental health in general and what you think is being done about it or can improve on, that sort of thing.
So Maddie at Drexel, our sports psychologist, she's great. She helps my team. She helps me personally as well. She's an amazing support system here at Drexel for all the athletes. And I think that when it comes to mental health, just having people like her in our lives and on our schedules to make sure that everybody's staying mentally healthy and everybody has that kind of outlet to turn to in any type of situation, whether it's sports related or something off the court or off the field. I think that having people like her in athletes' lives and in the mental health world is so important.
Yeah, it's amazing. I know you and I were talking a little bit before this, and we talked about kind of like how often she gets brought in and like what she helps the girls on the team with, things like that. So the biggest thing, I know I'm talking to the athlete now, but in terms of mental health in general, it's not always athletic problems that we face and go through, right? It's, life still happens for athletes, right? There's things going back home and your social life, we're still college students, right? We're still figuring everything out. So
Yep.
I think that's like a major thing to key on with Madeline as well.
Yes, definitely. Definitely is.
So now we're going to touch on Hannah's family life. I'll let her speak more to it. Hannah has become an inspiration for others, as I said, because she's very selfless, on the court, off the court. As we talk about the defensive part of basketball, a position that doesn't always get the accolades and doesn't get the limelight as much, but something has to be done. So, we talk about family and especially being an athlete, you're not home very often, especially you guys as women's basketball players. You guys don't go home as often. So talk about home life and the decisions you had to make and the sacrifices you make for people back home.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks, Paul, for the compliments. Also, like, my home life, when I came to Drexel freshman year, I was very, very nervous, very anxious because I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone on the team, and I just kind of didn't know how I would fit in and everything. And I've always been a homebody, always loved being around my family, staying home, so close with my parents, my brother, my sister. And when we come into Drexel, we do like a summer session for basketball. So we'll come in the end of June and we'll work out all the way until the end of July, and then we get the whole entire month of August off before we come back in September for preseason, and then 6 months straight we just go from there. My little sister Sydney, she has battled with leukemia cancer, and in 2016 she was diagnosed with it, and I was a junior in high school, so that was kind of a really rough year for my family, as you could imagine. So it was really tough. And then that August that we had off for Drexel, she found out that she relapsed with the cancer. So that was kind of really a lot to handle, especially coming in as a new freshman with knowing no one, with now having this huge big thing going on at home that I already experienced, that I thought I already went through, that I thought was in the past. So freshman year, my anxiety kind of got a little worse, as you know. It was a tough couple of months for sure, but My coach at the time, she was really awesome with making sure that I could handle everything. We had academic advisors that just really helped to make sure that I could stay on top of everything with all the family and social things I had going on. And then, just when I thought I couldn't get crazier than that, my mom sat me down at lunch and just explained how she's going to need a bone marrow transplant. And I was immediately like, oh my God, like, I can't do that. I literally can't. I was like, no way, like, it's going to be me, because I just hate needles. I hate going to the doctors. I hate everything about it. And I was like, no. So then my mom's like, you have to get tested. Like, you have to get tested. I'm like, oh, fine, like, whatever. So then one random day on our off day, I just ran down to CHOP real quick, because I would walk back and forth there to visit my mom and sister. And they just, like, took blood real quick, and I left, and I came home, and I had, like, a huge, like, gauze pad on my arm, and my teammates were like, what the heck? I was like, you know, just got some blood taken to see if I could potentially save my sister's life. They're like, oh, it's normal. I was like, yeah. And then about I would say about like 2 weeks goes by, and I went home to just like see my family, and my mom had like all these gifts on the table, and I was like, what the heck? Why? What? It was like, whose birthday? Whatever. And she's like, you might want to sit down. And I was like, no. I sat down. She's like, yeah, you were the perfect match for donating bone marrow to Sid. And I was like, okay, this is kind of crazy. And Sid's like, oh, here's another gift. Like, just like giving me like random stuff. I'm like, okay, like I guess I'm gonna do this. So from there on out, I kind of just kept it in the back of my mind every day. And I think I found out this was like a month before I actually had to do it, so I had some time to prepare. I didn't want to talk to anyone about it. I didn't want to have to learn about what exactly was going on. I just wanted to know nothing. I wanted to get in, get out, and that's exactly what I did. So
first of all, an amazing story, right? A total act of selflessness, you know, something that no one ever wants to go through, something that no one ever thinks they're going to have to go through. So pretty amazing, you know, act of yourself, right? You know, especially, I know family's important, but still pretty amazing, especially with a college career coming up. So quick, you know, my friend Jack Angelo back home was battling leukemia right now, is doing very well. I do want to note Jack and continue, you know, your success and your happiness and your fighting, because we're all with you here. You know, Hannah can speak to it. It's tough, man, but you're getting through it. So I want to acknowledge that first.
Yes.
Going back to your situation, so here you are now. You know, the transplant's over with, right? Speak to how that continued in terms of your sister getting healthier and your recovery as well.
So I didn't really know how it was going to work with how she would receive my bone marrow, and here, right after the procedure, I passed out. I left the recovery room too early, and like on my way to my sister's room, just kind of got sick, and I missed the whole thing, but they just hook her up to like my bags of bone marrow, and within a week, if it takes, great. If not, there's obviously going to be complications, but since it was a perfect match, there wasn't really any worry that was going to happen, and everything went great. So now that with COVID right now, I kind of always think about it, because with COVID, we're quarantined and we can't leave the house, and there's germs, and wash your hands. So that's kind of what it was like when my sister was getting over the transplant, because her immune system was like a newborn baby's. She had nothing except for her actual system trying to take my bone marrow and rebuild itself. So when she got sent home, whenever someone had to come over to visit her or whatever, they had to wear masks. We have hand sanitizer. Yeah, we have hand sanitizer stations set up in every door of my house. We got this air filter, purification filter system thing, in my, like, the vents of my house. I don't even know. So we just had to take every precaution because she couldn't even get the flu. She couldn't even get a common cold, because it would just affect her so much stronger than a normal person. So that was kind of what her recovery process was like. So
Now moving towards you as an athlete, we all have this idea of what our college career is going to look like. It shapes differently for different people. Some people it pans out. Some people aren't as lucky. You have had a tremendous amount of success after this. So talk about, we talked about your family and their recovery. Talk about what it was like, because I'm sure your mental health was wavering. I'm sure it was very stressful on you and your body. Talk about your return to play.
So after the procedure, I also have a really high pain tolerance, so I wasn't really hurting at like my back, because they took the bone marrow from the bones on my back, lower back area, so I didn't really feel that pain. It kind of just felt like a sore muscle. So anyone listening, go be a match, go try and do it, because it's not as bad. But a week goes by and I'm like, I'm fine. I think I started practicing three days after, because we had our first game versus Penn State the next day, like literally the next day after the procedure, and I was so set on going. I'm like, there's no way I'm missing my first college game. And I woke up that morning, and although physically I was fine, like it was the aches and pains, because they took so much from me that like I felt sick. Like I had a little fever, like, just minor, like so tired type of thing. But other than that, it was really fine. But I just made the decision with my mom and dad just to stay home and kind of recuperate, and then get back to it like that Monday when we started practicing again. And then we had our first home game versus LaSalle, so I was so set on playing that. And I did. I played, and I was fine, except the first play of the game, I shoot a layup, and I fall right on my back. I was like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
of course. So, yeah, getting back to it athletically wasn't really a challenge. And mentally, I feel like I was definitely in a better state of mind, because I'm like, phew, like that's in the past. Like everything kind of worked out. I'm like, and I still think about it to this day, how I just literally low-key saved my sister's life.
Not low-key, like you did.
Like
I
did.
Not low-key,
like
you did. You very much did.
Yeah, it was just so crazy, and I couldn't really like take it in, and it was really, really a wild time.
Well, I'm sure an event like that too, it is a lot to process, right?
Yeah.
Especially
definitely.
the scale of it. You know what I mean? Like it, very much changes the history of your future and your family and your sister, right?
Yes, for sure.
So that's definitely.
But leading up to my sophomore year, so you talk about like saying how much it was to process. I feel like I didn't let myself process it. So that's kind of where the whole mental deterioration of my mental health kind of came the year after that, because I was so invested in everything, because I needed something to like take my mind off what was going on. So like in school, like basketball, I put everything into it, and I did the procedure for my sister, and I played, and I continued to play my freshman year, and it was all great. Everything was it was great, But then sophomore year just rolls around, and you know what they say about the sophomore slump. It's a real thing. It literally is a real thing. So I was like going through it. I was like, I don't feel special. I feel kind of in the normal scheme of things, and I'm like, I have to top last year. I need to like, so it kind of just really got in my head, and that's when like my anxiety and depression just got like really, really bad. So yeah.
So let's talk now. We're gonna dive into those feelings. Okay, that anxiety, that depression. This is what it's all about, right? Like these emotions and these feelings that necessarily people can't see from the outside. Your teammates might not recognize it, right? They might just think you're having an off day, an off week, whatever it is. I think especially with lacrosse guys, like we see each other in such like an athletic way that we just notice people are having an off day on the field. And passing in the locker room, none of that, just on the field. So I'm sure you guys in the locker room. So talk about your internal struggle and your internal battle with your depression and anxiety.
It was definitely an internal struggle. I mean, my teammates, I have amazing teammates, and they without them, I don't even know. They're just the best ever when it comes to stuff like this, really, because they see it firsthand, like on the court, like off the court, even at the apartments. Like they know what's going on. So I think that just having good people to talk to, and teammates that are always going to be there for you no matter what, I feel like you can really overcome a lot of bad stuff in life with that.
So what was your thought process when all that was going down? Like, what was your mind telling you? Like, what sort of things were you hearing from yourself? Because our body talks to us, right? So even if it's like your brain, your mind saying things to you, stuff like that. Like, were you at a point of, like, I shouldn't be doing this anymore with basketball? Were you at a point of like, I need to leave? Like, where were you at mentally?
Yeah, I was just kind of like, wow, Hannah, you suck. Like, you shouldn't be playing anymore. Like, do you even really like doing this? And then, like, those thoughts, they happen so often that it then starts to take like a physical toll on you. So I would start experiencing like fatigue. I would get dry mouth. I would get headaches. Like, I would not sleep. I would not eat for days. Like, it escalates so quickly. And I don't really think that people understand that as much as it is mental, it can really become physical. Like, people with anxiety have physical symptoms too that can really, especially athletes in performance, like it's a disadvantage. Like, it's not fair. Definitely. And it's only your mind that can help you get out of it, and that can help you to bounce back and do better. And you could, sometimes as much as you hear that from people, like, you got this, you can do it, blah, blah, it's just like yourself. It's so internal.
It goes, like, over your head.
It goes right over your head, yeah.
So, with the last few guests I've had between Madeline and Tom, we've talked about coping mechanisms in different forms of getting past or getting over what your mind's telling you into a better place. It doesn't always get better, but you can get to more of a functional state. So, did you do any, like, breathing or exercises? Like, what kind of took you, and maybe you didn't, right? It doesn't always work for everyone, but what did you do to get out of that thought process and that mindset into your junior and now your senior year?
Into my junior year, it was like, sophomore year was such an eye-opening and learning experience. As bad as it was, and looking at the state that I was in, I really wouldn't change any of it, because I think that phases like that in your life, you definitely grow from that. And I think I really made the jump from the end of sophomore year to the start of my junior year, just really finding myself again. And I took the initiative too. It's so important to realizing, okay, like, I am in the wrong here. Like, I have a problem. Like, I have to get my mind right. And I attended some of the anxiety workshops at Drexel. They host them in the summer. They had a couple just about anxiety and how to handle it and stress. And I'll share one little analogy that really, really helped me, and I still always refer to it to this day, is when something happened in your life that's just, you can't get over it, or every time you think of it, it just makes you feel so anxious. It's like you're tugging a rope. You're pulling like on that rope in your mind just to feel like, okay, like, no, like, that wasn't anxious. Like, that wasn't me. Like, I was fine, whatever. And then the teacher actually said, here's a rope, and gave me the other end and said, like, are you, like, thinking about something anxious? Like, you want to, like, pull the rope to get over that anxious thought. And then he was like, but why are you still pulling? Right. Like, just drop it. Just drop the rope, and it's fine. Like, you don't have to fight the anxious thoughts. You don't have to fight the anxious feelings or anything. If something from your past or whatever comes up in your head that makes you feel those feelings again, don't tug at it. Just let it be. And I feel like that helped so much, just with everything. Just letting it be. It's over. It's in the past. I don't need to fight anymore, because it's over.
Yeah, I've never heard that before. I mean, it's a great analogy, though. It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It totally makes sense in your mind.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I recommend, that's what I did. I did
it's amazing.
The anxiety workshops. I started seeing some therapists and talking to them, and I just thought, that just helped me tremendously, and finding good people in my life too to make each day fun was really awesome.
Good. See, so like progress is huge, right? And so it could be day by day, it could be week by week. It doesn't happen right away, but
Mm-hmm.
finding and getting that help is so important. I think a lot of people are scared to find that help.
Yeah.
And so, like this stuff, like hopefully people listen, they can kind of like understand and hopefully get some perspective,
Mm-hmm.
as well as learn some things for themselves. You can't always go to a doctor. You might not feel comfortable, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
whatever mental block it is. Right? Little things like hearing stories from you, like, are super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So now here we are, your senior year. Just had a career high in points the other day too, right?
Yeah.
So here we are now, still setting records, right? When we thought you couldn't get any better. Like, honestly, like how your career's gone, it's just like you keep improving.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure, obviously your gameplay, but mentally, I'm assuming you've done the same thing, right? So
Yep.
talk about now, here you are, your senior year, mentally, where are you?
Yeah. So senior year, COVID isn't really helping anything, obviously, but let's just forget that's a thing. I think mentally, it's kind of like, this is it. I've been playing this sport since I was 9 years old, and, you know, so much time, so much energy, so many good things, so many bad things, and all of it, you kind of realize going into your last year that it really does shape you into the person you are today and helps to, guide you into what your future is going to be like. So I think just my mental state is really just going with the flow, living each day like this could be my last game, because it literally could,
Right.
and just saying like it's all or nothing this year, last one, best one type of thing.
Yeah.
So
we heard from my good friend Tom Wall on the last podcast. I said he was a normal guy. He's not an athlete. Obviously, Tom, you're an athlete. We get it. But in terms of being a college athlete, so the spectrum of people we hear from between a women's basketball player at a Division I school and, someone who I classify as a typically normal guy back home, there's no picking and choosing. Like, life's not fair, and I think that's the biggest thing to key on.
This is what I heard freshman year, that life's not fair, but it is fair because it's unfair for everyone.
Okay, that makes sense. No, it does make sense, right?
Yeah.
I think there's some people who go through it worse than others, like, so obviously, but
yeah.
So he gave some great last words. Madeline has some great last words.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone listening right now, from your perspective, they're listening to this incredible story with your sister and getting over what we call your sophomore slump. What are some words of advice or anything you can give people listening to maybe get them through like this day or this next week or whatever's going on?
Yeah. I would say just to keep going. You'll get through it, because sometimes when those anxious thoughts come in and you think like, how am I going to do this for another week? How am I going to do this for another month? Just think like, if like you have already survived all of your worst days. So if you don't think you can get through this week, then what makes you think you should look back at a time where you thought the same thing and then you still made it to this day, type of thing. Like, I think that you can always just see the positive and keep living in the moment and taking everything day by day, for sure.
Amazing. Well, thank you, everyone. Hannah Nihill again. I'll be sharing her story. Follow along to Drexel women's basketball. Hope their season progresses. Very high hopes for them. Thank you again, Hannah. It's very brave to come on and talk about everything, especially stuff that's so personal to you. So this is incredible. So thank you, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, and thanks for making me feel comfortable and for doing what you're doing and having these conversations with everyone. I think it's so important, and just to keep it up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you. We'll see you for episode 5.
See ya.